physicist explains the existence of dead extraterrestrial humanoid civilization on Mars that was done away with in a massive ancient nuclear explosion. Let's remember, I do have the playlist of the Emerald Tablets written by Thoth the Atlantean, having to do with revealing the tremendous technology that the Atlanteans had. He even claims that they had interstellar travel and that one of their exiled generals with his entourage was exiled on Mars. At that time, Mars had a similar atmosphere and living conditions as Earth. And he claims that the main general was to be buried under a face on Mars, and that his entourage were to be buried under pyramids near the face. And that was to be done so that when the Atlanteans passed Mars from space in their space travels, they would be able to see the face and the area of the face and the pyramids on Mars, and that's in the Cydonia Plateau, as we know. Now, the physicist here explains that there were humanoids living on Mars, and that there was a massive nuclear event that destroyed the atmosphere. In 2015, a study was published by physicist John Brandenburg, and he has the best explanation of what could have happened on Mars. He claims that the planet once had an Earth-like atmosphere, as we said, of course, as is, and I do have the playlist of the Emerald Tablets. You should listen to them because there's so much in there. So he claims that Mars had an Earth-like atmosphere at one time and faced a massive thermonuclear explosion that destroyed its atmosphere. The study considered the Cydonian hypothesis and Fermi's paradox. Brandenburg considered the Cydonian hypothesis in the light of imaging and geochemical data. He adopted a model of Earth-like eroded archaeology for comparison with Mars artifacts, using the pyramids at Giza and the Sphinx and Olmec heads as analogs under the principle of mediocrity and without attention to detail. Enrico Fermi analyzed the problem of the universe where intelligent life was both possible and noisy. He also knew the universe was very old compared to humanity, and there was plenty of time for other species to develop and make radio and TV broadcasts and spread throughout the universe to all habitable planets. NASA, from its inception, expected that artifacts of past intelligent activity might be found in the solar system, though intelligent or semi-intelligent life conceivably exists elsewhere in the solar system. If intelligent extraterrestrial life is discovered in the next 20 years, it will very probably be by radio telescope from other solar systems. Evidence of its existence might be also found in artifacts left on the moon or other planets. In his work, physicist Brandenburg showed that the data from two Martian sites, Cydonia Mensa and Galaxias Chaos, were studied, which formed the basis for the Cydonian hypothesis of an ancient indigenous, approximately Bronze Age civilization on Mars. Isotopic and gamma-ray data from Mars revealed evidence that a massive mixed fusion-fission explosion happened on Mars near Cydonia Mensa. And evidence for a large thermonuclear explosion on Mars passed. The noble gases, which remain nearly free of chemical reaction with the environment and whose original relative abundances are thought to be fixed by primordial nucleosynthesis predating the formation of the solar system, provide clues to the processes which have shaped contemporary planetary atmospheres. A signature feature of Mars' atmosphere is the predominance of two noble gas isotopes, 129 xenon and 40 argon, over their other isotopes relative to Earth and other inventories. Both these gases are recognized as radiogenic, being due to nuclear reactions in the planetary environment. These isotopic features are unique to Mars and allowed the identification of Mars as the parent body of the S and C meteorites. It means that the Martian surface was apparently the site of massive radiological events which created large amounts of signature isotopes and covered the surface with a thin layer of radioactive debris, enriched in certain elements relative to its subsurface rocks. This pattern of phenomenon can be explained as due to two large anomalous nuclear explosions on Mars in the past. The Cydonia hypothesis was based on the evidence of archaeology on Mars at several sites, principally the face in Cydonia and the nearby DNM pyramid, plus evidence of the long period of terrestrial climate on Mars. It was the simplest hypothesis that could be formulated based on Viking data to explain the apparent archaeology on Mars, since it assumed the same processes, life, evolution, and civilization, that produced the pyramids and the Sphinx on Earth had operated on Mars and for similar periods. Based on evidence that Mars and Earth evolved with a liquid water environment on their surfaces for most of their history, as evidenced by an ocean bed on the younger parts of Mars, the high oxidation state of Mars' surface and sediments, plus evidence that biology began early on Mars as on Earth and perished for most of its geological history. And finally, higher resolution images of the face and DNM pyramids in Cydonia Mensa, showing apparent brickwork and new anatomic and artistic details not seen in Viking images, and the new images of the face Galaxias A and Galaxias Chaos, also called the Utopia site, that confirming its similar structure to the face in Cydonia Mensa, as well as new details suggesting brickwork, the author now concludes that the CH has been confirmed. That is, apparent eroded archaeology exists from a dead indigenous civilization on Mars at several sites, consistent with a long-lived and evolved biosphere on Mars in the past, as on Earth. It was also worth pointing out in passing that the nuclear calamity discussed in the study may have left some bacterial species unscathed and intact, and these may well have been detected in the 1976 Viking-labeled release Experiments of Gilbert Levine and Patricia Stratt. The existence of the dead humanoid civilization on Mars is completely consistent with its apparent long-lived Earth-like past climate and the principle of mediocrity, the idea that humanoid intelligence is not exotic or miraculous, but is natural consequence of any long-lived Earth-like biosphere. This Martian civilization apparently perished due to a planet-wide catastrophe of unknown origin that changed Mars' climate from being Earth-like to its present state in a brief period compared to geologic time. However, what ended the civilization was it a massive nuclear attack. Taken together, the evidence suggests that Mars was the locale of a planetary nuclear massacre. The answer to Fermi's paradox may thus lie on Mars. Brandenburg recommended that a mission for human occupation of Mars be immediately initiated to maximize knowledge of what transpired there. This is on Hows and Whys by Vicky Verma. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.